Bo Mattingly, welcome back to Tuscaloosa. I hope you're doing well.
Hey, thanks for having me. You bet.
Looking at a little college football and spending some time in Arkansas Razorback territory here. When you look at their season, 7-6, 9 starters on the offensive side of the football, no doubt this is going to be one of the strengths of that side of the football, is going to have to lead this team in 2015. Would you agree?
I think they're set up, to have a better year offensively. Last year they got bogged down a little bit at times, particularly in the fourth quarter. And I would agree that this year with a fifth-year senior quarterback, Brandon Allen, and a returning offensive line, 4 guys up there that I think have a chance to play at the next level. This is going to be, with a couple of running backs in the backfield, probably Bret Bielema's best year offensively in his third year at Arkansas, no question.
When you look at his system, and I know we're going to go back to the defensive side of the football, but I know we're talking about the offense. Can you win consistently with this type of system in the current days of college football?
Yeah, there's no question that it's a curveball, knuckleball right now for a lot of teams that are going up against so many more either spread or tempo offenses. The thing about this kind of offense, and I think it's true about any offense you want to run, if you're physical and you could win the point of attack, you're good up front, you got a chance. And Arkansas, I think, is now built to do that under Bret Bielema, where they can pick up first down, they can put together drives, and it really helps your defense out. Keeps them off the field, allows them to play fast and physical on that side of the ball. If you can run the ball, as much as things change in college football, running the football, if you're going to run the football, you got a chance to win games.
Well, it's the finesse. When you look at 85 scholarship athletes, and I heard you talking about it last week on your radio program, we're talking about recruiting, and I heard you mention that you had to go outside that state to be able to reel in some of the kids that you need to build that championship caliber football team. And when you look at 85 scholarships, I watch it here in Tuscaloosa. They finally got to the point where they've got athletic linebackers, but they've also got those big physical linebackers that can be the run stopping ability. Defensive linemen, the same way. The athletic guys on the outside, but in the middle to be able to hold those trenches together. You look at a team like Arkansas, they just challenge you so many different ways. And those big 320-pound hogs leaning on you all night, it's not fun for the teams that are a little bit smaller.
Alabama for years has been a team that when you get done playing them, you're beat up. And it's always interesting to see what teams do the week after they play Alabama. In fact, when we get the schedule, you'll look at it and you'll say, well, that team's coming off a game against Alabama, so LSU is probably a winnable game for, say, Arkansas, because the Tigers have to play the Crimson Tide before they play the Razorbacks. I think that's now becoming true of Arkansas. When you get out of a game with them, you're going to be physically beat up a little bit. And it's going to be interesting as they continue to get better at the way they want to play and get the kind of those Bret Bielema bodies that you want to have in the SEC now. So they had them at Wisconsin, and even some of Wisconsin's teams could compete with SEC teams and won in some bowl games against SEC teams. But he's gone to another level, another caliber of football player in this conference. And I think Arkansas is going to beat up some teams that are going to have a difficult time the week after they play the Razorbacks in years to come.
We are talking to Bo Mattingly right now. Sports Talk with Bo, statewide syndicated radio program 2 until 6 each afternoon there in Arkansas. And Bo Mattingly, nice enough to help us out, break down Arkansas. Let's go back to the defensive side of the football. Where did they need to improve the most from 2014 transitioning into 2015?
Probably in the secondary, but, they got a lot better at the end of the year. And you'll see some carryover. What they did in the last 5 games is really incredible on defense. And something you're used to there in Tuscaloosa with Alabama, the way they play defense. Arkansas kind of played that way late in the year. They gave up 45 total points in the last 5 games. And that's really impressive, especially for a team that doesn't have the kind of recruiting rankings that, say, an Alabama team does. They're experienced and they feel good about their secondary. I think they've got 3 corners they feel great about. They've got a couple of safeties that have high ceilings and they think will really produce there this year. Linebacker, they're a little thin. They lost the leading tackler in the SEC, Marshall Spate. They've moved their middle linebacker over, and they think he's got a chance to be the leading tackler in the SEC. This system really produces a lot of tackles to the weak side linebacker, and they've got a really deep defensive line. They lost 2 guys off their D-line to the NFL. One of them, Darius Philon, who was on his way to Alabama, as you know, before he was asked to gray shirt and ended up at Arkansas. The other being Trey Flowers, who was a pretty good pass rusher. But they've got 8 or 10 guys that they feel like can really play in the SEC on the defensive line. And that's not something Arkansas usually has. And it's probably going to be the strength of their defense.
Can Arkansas make it to Tuscaloosa undefeated when you look at UTEP, Toledo, Texas Tech, then Texas A&M, and then at Tennessee, and then back to Tuscaloosa? Can they be inside Bryant-Denny Stadium with a winless record? Excuse me, a winning undefeated season. Excuse me.
Yeah, I understand, and I believe they can, and I think that's the key. The game with Tennessee, obviously, every game in the SEC, I think for most teams in this league, particularly the West, is losable. But they'll be favored in the A&M game in Arlington, and I think Arkansas has a good chance to win the game. Tennessee, I think, gets a little more difficult just because you're in Knoxville. It's not an easy place to play, but they'll be either a pick'em or a really slight underdog in that game. So, yeah, I think there's a great chance for them. And they're a team that some people are calling a dark horse in the West. Vegas has a win total of 8 games for Arkansas. If they're going to be a team that goes over that, they've got to win at Tennessee. And you could make the argument that they need to win both of those games. I think the other 2 games that you can say that Arkansas is going to win would be Mississippi State and Fayetteville, Missouri and Fayetteville at the end of the year. So winning against A&M, winning against Tennessee on the road, I think it only gets more difficult from there outside of those last 2 games I mentioned.
When you go to Ole Miss, and I know you're a college football fanatic just like we are, we enjoy the game of college football. I sort of want to get your thoughts on Laramie Tunsil, the situation brewing out of Oxford. Your thoughts about riding around with agents, the rest that came over the weekend, or late last week, and then the story developing today that we maybe some agent contact there. Just over your overall thoughts about the situation there in Oxford.
We don't have all the details, but it's really strange to me that Ole Miss and Hugh Freeze are making the statements they're making just because you don't see a lot of that until the process is complete. What you usually get is, well, we're going to let the legal system do its due diligence, and we're monitoring the situation, we're aware of it. But Hugh Freeze coming out and basically supporting Laramie Tunsil and saying, oh, yeah, he talks to agents, but it's no big deal. It's it's just the contact the NCAA allowed. Oh, yeah, he was involved in a domestic altercation, but he's just defending his mother. That sounds like, to me, somebody who's trying to do either one of 2 things: damage control and make sure that the story doesn't go south on them, or B, that's the truth, and he's trying to get out ahead of it. But I don't know how Hugh Freeze knows what the truth is when the legal system has charged Laramie Tunsil. They haven't charged his stepfather, who Tunsil says he was protecting his mother against. So if that's what he was really doing, then why haven't the police charged the stepfather with some sort of a abuse charge? So, those are questions that Hugh Freeze is running out and saying one thing, the legal system has told us another. And then it'll be interesting to see from an agent contact standpoint, was there more to it than the allowed agent contact? If there was, can it be proven? Because if it can't be proven, then it's, just like it didn't really happen, which is the problem the NCAA, one of the problems the NCAA continues to have with enforcing its rules. Unless you're caught red-handed, there's really not much of that they can do to further their case because they don't have the power to make people tell the story with the power of subpoena. So those are just sort of my takeaways, observations. It'll be interesting to see as more information becomes available how the story really shakes out.
Less than 2 weeks, you will be setting in Hoover, Alabama at the Winfrey Hotel, and I believe the name has changed, and I'm 45 minutes away, and I cannot tell you. I think it's Hyatt Regency, the hotel. I think is what
That's right.
You will be. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're right on the name. Hyatt Regency. They changed it. You're right.
Hyatt Regency. But for 25 years, those of us that lived in the state, it's Winfrey Hotel. It's like, you pass by it. It's for the name branded in your mind. So I continue to refer to it as the Winfrey Hotel. But the Hyatt Regency there, where the SEC Media Day shop will be set up for 4 days, you're going to be asked to cast a vote of who you're going to pick for the SEC West. If you're doing that today, and we were not going to hold you accountable, but who do you like to win the SEC West in this very tough division?
It's a great question. Probably with most everybody else, Alabama or Auburn. I'm not sure that I'm buying Auburn like most people are, so I would probably lean towards Alabama. I also think this is going to be a surprising year, but I just can't tell you who else would win it. I just think there's so many questions that some of the answers are going to be surprising. It's one of those years where there's a bunch of good teams, but there's also a bunch of questions that have to be answered, and we're just not sure what they are. So many quarterback questions, so much inexperience, guys being replaced at key positions, and it's so difficult not only to pick a winner, but to go 1 through 7. And where you think everybody's going to finish. But if you're pinning me down today, I'd say Alabama.